crafters, Happy New Year to you. I hope you had a great holiday. Hope you got some rest, maybe even had some fun, maybe even a little crafty time. I took a little break, got to visit some family and chill out and rest my brain a little bit. And now I'm coming back and I'm trying to plan some new projects for this year, and I'm getting kind of over-inspired. Lots of ideas, lots of fun stuff to work on. However, it is the grouchier time of the year, weather-wise. Don't have as much sunlight as we would necessarily like. So that means it's flannel season. Seriously, these days all I really want to wear are like sweatshirts, flannel PJ pants, flannel bathrobes, flannel, whatever. Because sometimes you just gotta make your own cozy. I mean, that's just, yeah. Of course, that means I'm planning projects that involve lots of cozy fabrics, maybe some bright colors, maybe some not bright colors, because you know, it's that time of year. So I'm finally going to be tackling a project that I actually envisioned earlier in the fall and then didn't get to. Does that ever happen to you? I did some flannel shopping in, I think, about October or November, and oh my gosh, the flannels at my local fabric store were so beautiful, like so many cool color combinations. I thought about it and I ended up buying a bunch of flannel. And then I started working on the project and of course put it on hold. Things got a little crazy during the holidays and now I'm back. I'm thinking of making a flannel skirt. I'm looking for like a full length, super cozy, kind of prairie inspired flannel skirt that hopefully I could wear tights or leggings with and would hopefully be pretty warm and cozy and still kind of cute. That's my plan. I'm hoping to use a pattern that I have used before so that I kind of know how it's going to work, and I'm also planning on actually following those pattern directions this time. Are you proud of me? I'm proud of me. Let's go back in time with a little bit of video magic and I'll show you my craft store dilemma, which fabrics I found. It was down to 2 choices. Let's switch on over to that and take a peek right over there. Well, did you guess the flannel that I picked? Well, either way, you actually guessed correctly because I ended up buying both. I love them, and I knew. When you know, you know. So I ended up buying the really bright rainbow flannel for hopefully a future dress project. That may take a while, but we'll see. I've got a vision. So I'm going to save that. The one I'm working with today is the gray flannel with the rainbow plaid. Isn't that amazing? It almost looks kind of like a wool, but it's not wool. So kind of excited about that. Let's dive in. Let's look at the pattern we're working with. I'll of course show you the fabric closer up and just go through the sewing project step by step, show you what I did. See if you get inspired to maybe try some cozy projects of your own this time of year. Maybe pour yourself a nice hot beverage, turn up the heater a little bit, and settle in for a nice cozy flannel project. Let's get started.
Oh my gosh, look at this flannel! Ah, so cozy! Okay, I love gray for winter time. I can't really wear it near my face, but if I can wear it on the bottoms, I feel like it's a nice neutral, and it's kind of got a cozy vibe. And then if you've got rainbow stripes and rainbow plaid over the top, yes, please sign me up. I don't think I'll have too much difficulty in finding a top that will coordinate with my future skirt, because this is amazing. Let's take a look. Of course, I am going to need to iron this. It is very fuzzy, very fluffy, kind of a nice, like, heavier weight. I will say my Joann's is now sold out of this flannel, and definitely by the time this video goes live, I think this one will be possibly gone, but I know they are getting in lots of amazing flannels, I think, for the whole season, so super fun. Let's take a look at our pattern and we'll get going. Well, you guys may recognize this pattern. I've used it a couple of times. I've done just the basic skirt in a flannel pattern a couple winters ago. I've also done the tiered skirt in using some flannel remnants that I had. That was a lot of fun. I will link to those projects down below because I did something a little different in each one of those projects and kind of tweaked the pattern around a little bit, playing with different ideas. It is a pretty basic pattern. They call it level 1 learn to sew. I have a few beefs with that, which I will show you in a minute, but I'm glad to have this pattern ready to go, and I know it works, so let's check this out. I'm going to be doing the basic skirt again. Let's see, looks like for cutout directions, we're just making some rectangles, giant rectangles, and a waistband, and some interfacing. That sounds about right for where I'm at these days, this time of year. Simple is good. I also wanted to make sure I was using a simple skirt pattern so that I didn't have lots of panels to deal with matching the plaid, which I'm not so good at. So that's exciting. They have you do something a little different than what I would expect from a level 1 or super basic skirt pattern. They have you make a waistband that is flat, non-elasticized in the front, and then has a stretchy elastic panel in the back. Now, I like that look, but I don't usually like going to that amount of work. So the past times I've made this skirt, I have just made a tube for the waistband and inserted elastic. And that works. I will say that with a really full skirt, sometimes it's nice to not have a fully stretchy waistband because the skirt can kind of get tugged and the waistband can get pulled down a bit. So that was definitely a drawback. I also like the look of having that flat waistband in the front, especially when you're dealing with really bulky fabric. It can be nice to have it flat in the back, but then, okay, it's really hard to see, gathered in the back. So I think I'm actually going to put in the work and do that this time. Are you guys proud of me? You should be proud of me. So interestingly enough, of course, we get our interfacing in our waistband pieces, and then instead of sewing the panels of the skirt together right away, they have you gather the front panel and then stitch it to the front waistband, and then they have you do the same thing on the back and stitch that to the back waistband. And then doody-doody-doody-doo. Then we're going to put elastic into the back waistband. We've got to like stitch it down on one end and scooch it through the hole and then stitch it down in the back. And only then do we finally get to stitch our two skirt pieces front and back together. And then they do this kind of cool thing. Let's see if we can focus. Where we're overlapping the like the front waistband piece over the elasticy back waistband piece, and then you kind of like tack it down so that it's covered. I have tried this before and I was able to make it work. So That's cool. That's what I'm thinking of for this skirt so far. Of course, I have a ton of fuzzy flannel that I need to go iron. I need to cut everything out. And I also want to see if I have some extra fabric. I think I bought quite a bit more than I needed. If I have some extra, I may want to make like a simple scarf to go with this skirt. If I had extras, I would make some for gifts too, because this is like the perfect color combination and weight for some flannel scarves. Okay, we'll see, guys. I'm going to get to ironing, do a little cutting out, and then we will get to skirting. Here we go. Wow, guys, lots of fabric cut out here. Of course, you can tell the big pieces are the skirt pieces. They're basically just giant rectangles. You can tell the skinny pieces are the waistband pieces. And they look a little different colored because I did successfully iron on some interfacing to those. And then I did add some extra pieces. Can you guess what these are? Yeah, I figured it's worth taking the extra time, since I have extra fabric, and making some pockets. Now this skirt pattern does not include pockets, so I kind of copied a pocket pattern from a dress pattern that I have. These are not really big pockets. They're not designed to hold a lot of weight, but I figure if you're making a skirt, probably worth the extra time. Just put in the darn pockets, right? Well, of course I had to kind of guess where those pockets are going to go in the side seams. I held the skirt up, tried to kind of guess how that was going to sit with the waistband, and then you can tell, do you see my little white chalk mark? Yeah, it's about 5 inches from the top of the skirt. Hope I guessed okay there. I think that's where I'm going to line up the top of the pocket. And I think I got to do that first. Got to put those pockets onto the front and to the back sides of the skirt before I then add a whole bunch of gathering stitches at the top of the skirt pieces, and then I can gather those to the waistband. Then it's going to get a little bit fiddly with like the elastic and stuff, but that's okay. We'll get there. Let's do the pockets. Woo! Okay, well, we got the pockets sewn on. Of course, they're actually going to get turned into real pockets when we sew the front of the skirt to the back of the skirt. We'll check that out a little bit later. I did. Hard to see, but I ran some giant gathering stitches along the top of both skirt pieces. 2 lines of gathering stitches, and those are going to help us scrunch up this fabric to our ta-da waistbands. You can tell my back waistband, the really long one, I've folded it and stitched it closed. That was wrong sides together. And then the front waistband, I did a little ironing on one side to make a nice finished edge. Yay. Okay, let's bust out that pattern and see what we're doing next. Well, here we go. We've got our little ironed under edge on the front. We did our gathering stitches. Now we gotta gather the front to the waistband. We're just gonna tug on the bottom line of stitches, which is then just gonna go scrunch everything up, pin it to our waistband, and stitch it. They recommend basting it, then stitching it twice. Okay, I can do that. Next, we go to the back. We're gathering again, but we're gathering it to that longer waistband piece that has been folded into a little tube. Stitch that on there. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Looks like they want us to stitch along the edge of the back waistband. Okay, cool. then we get to that kind of goofy bit where we've got to take a piece of elastic and insert it into the back tube of the waistband. Then we stitch one edge down, stitch the other edge down so that elastic is totally stuck in that tube. And then, only then, do we pin the skirt pieces together and sew up the side seams, and we take the front waistband bit that doesn't have elastic and fold it over the raw edge of the elasticated bit. Okay. And press, pin it, slip stitch it. Okay. And then you could edge stitch your front waistband. Cool. Okay, so hopefully that is going to result in a nice flat waistband in the front, but the stretchy, comfy bit going in the back. That's a little extra fiddly, but I'm going for it this time. Let's do it. I mean, this flannel's pretty thick, so if I made the whole waistband elastic, I feel like it would be really gathered and really thick and kind of bulky. I think doing it this way will help it lay a little flatter, be a little more flattering. We'll see. Okay, time to do some gather-rooney and get our waistband pieces stitched to the skirt. Here we go. Well, that took a while, but we've got the skirt in the front, gathered and stitched to the waistband. Very nice. Of course, this is going to eventually get folded over, pinned, and just tacked down there. I think they also maybe do some top stitching as well. Very nice. And then we've got our back waistband, which of course is a lot longer and not as gathered-y looking because we're going to put some elastic into this lovely tube we made. And of course that'll gather everything up a whole bunch more. I also did a zigzag stitch over my raw edges back here because, man, this flannel frays like crazy. I'll be doing that all over this skirt in the seam allowance to try to keep it from fraying. Of course, if you have a serger, that's even better. But I think it's time to pull out that elastic, insert it into this tube. I'll probably end up stitching one end down to keep it in place and then pinning it on the other. And then I'm going to have to try this skirt on before I know that that elastic is the right length. So I'll probably get it in there, kind of pin it in place. And then we finally get to sew the back of the skirt to the front of the skirt, going up the side seams. Once I've done that, it'll kind of sort of be a skirt and I'll be able to try it on and adjust that elastic. Whew. Okay. Elastic time first. Side seams next. Trying it on and fiddling with it third. Oh, and then fourth, we get to close it all up and make it look pretty. Let's get started. Okay, a little update, you guys. I have sewn those side seams closed. After a bit of thread ripping, I realized at one point, thankfully it was on the first side seam, I realized that these stripes that I worked so hard to line up from one side to the other, they had shifted and I hadn't pinned things straight, and so I was stitching them and they were wonky. So unpicked those seams, brushed out the fabric, smoothed it out so that the stripes lined up as well as possible, and stitched again. Of course, I then also was stitching the pockets together kind of at the same time as I was sewing front and back of skirt together. Front and back of pocket got sewn together as well. The pockets did have some markings, which unfortunately I've brushed off because I used a chalk pen. But as I was sewing the side seams, I stitched until, I think it was, where did I stop? I'm trying to feel it. I think I stopped right about there. And then I left a gap because that's where your hand goes into the pocket, right? So I stopped, and then I started stitching again right about here, kept on going with those side seams all the way down. But then, of course, I needed to come back and stitch around the outside edge of the pocket, which I did right there. And then, of course, your hand goes into the pocket right about there. I have tested them from the other side of the fabric, and they work pretty well. Not bad at all. All right, so now I've got to finish this waistband. You remember I left my safety pin on one side so I could adjust it? I also attached another safety pin to the inside. I'll be taking this guy off and then tugging on this guy to adjust as I try it on and try to get that just right before I then have to put the other side, this waistband bit over this side and pin it down. Hang on, let's look at that picture because they show it so much better than I say it. There. The front waistband flap gonna get folded under a little bit and folded right on top of the raw edge of the other one. And then you tack it down. Excellent. I'm gonna try this on and then I'll do that part, and then we are basically gonna have a skirt. Hooray! Well, I'm glad I tried it on. I did end up taking out a little bit of the elastic, and of course I was using my safety pin, tugging on the elastic and then pinning the other safety pin in place so it wouldn't move, and trying to fold over the rest of the waistband and pin it on so I could see what it was going to be like. A little fiddly, but I'm glad I did, just to try to find a comfortable length that was going to sit nicely and, of course, you know, still be comfortable. So that took a little bit of work. Now our next step is to take our lovely front waistband that we ironed under a little bit here and pin it so that it covers all the yucky raw edges, and it's going to cover the raw edge of the back waistband with the elastic. Here's one side that I've already done, and let's see if we can look at it here on the other side. Of course, they recommended to fold under and press that 5/8 inch seam allowance. And of course, we've already pressed this edge of our front waistband. So we're going to kind of fold-a-roni, do a little fold over and wrap. We'll have to pin that, stitch it, and then of course we've got to do some little slip stitches all the way around this in the back to cover it up. A little later, they suggest doing some top stitching on the outside. I may do that. We shall see. But excited to get this waistband wrapped up and enclosed, because that's probably the most complicated thing about this whole project is the waistband. But I think I'm going to like it. I like the stretchy, and I like the less bulk in front. I think that's going to be nice. Okay, well, of course, we've got other stuff to do as well. I definitely want to do a zigzag stitch around all of these raw edges because, my goodness, there is flannel fuzz everywhere. I need to hem it as well. And then I did have some extra fabric, which I think I definitely need to make a scarf with. So we're close. We definitely have a few more steps to go. I'm going to keep working a little bit this evening, and then I'll have to check in it with you tomorrow and show you how far I got and what's left. Well, good morning, you guys. We have a skirt. Yay! Woohoo! I did kind of plow ahead last night and I did most of the things I needed to do. I got the skirt hemmed. I did a zigzag stitch on all the raw edges on the inside. I've got that waistband all good to go. I do need to do a little bit of top stitching. They recommend in the pattern to do a little line of stitching close to the top of the waistband and then another one close to the bottom. I think that would look nice, so I'm probably going to do that. I do, however, have some extra fabric that I'm hoping to turn into a matching scarf / shawl. So let's take a look at that next, because that will be our last step in the project. Okay, here's most of what's left of my fabric after using some of it for the pockets. I took the biggest and longest piece I had left. This is about 60 inches. And I cut it down the middle. So now we have two very long strips. And my plan is to sew them together end to end and then hem all around them. Wow, doesn't that sound like fun? And turn that into a really large scarf. Of course, I will be trimming this down because I definitely don't need this long. But I want to try sewing the pieces end to end and then kind of playing around with how to wear it before I cut off the inevitable large chunk off the end of each piece. So let's take a look at that. It's kind of chunky. Like, it's not super thick, but it's definitely got a little heft to it. So I think I'm going to just roll the edges, you know, like you would for a rolled hem. Oh, I can't do it with one hand. Just do a bit of that. Kind of. All the way around all the raw edges. And that should be okay. Let me show you my ingenious method for connecting these two pieces. And you can tell me if you think it's ingenious. Okay, so here's my sneaky plan. I have ironed about 1/2 inch on each side. Got our little, it's about 1/2 inch ironed under. And my thought is, what if I kind of overlap them, you know, so that the raw edges are facing towards each other? Kind of line it up, pin it, try to deal with the stripes, yay. Maybe overlap it, maybe like 1 inch, maybe not quite 1 inch. And then pin here, pin on the other side as well. And then I could do a little line, I could stitch right near the edge on this side. And then flip it over and stitch right along the edge on the other side. So we'll have a little bit of a lump and a little bit of a pattern interruption and 2 lines of stitching. But then hopefully all the raw edges will be hidden and it will lay mostly flat. Maybe? We'll see. Maybe I should probably make this as small as possible. We'll see. I think that's what I'm going to go for right now. Let me know in the comments if there's another cool way to do this. I think I'm going to just go for it. Let's switch on over to time-lapse to do that. Oh, and then of course we also have to do our rolled hem along all the edges. I'm trying to decide if I want to, like, do a rolled hem at the very end of the scarf, or if I want to just do a line of stitching and then fray the end. Not totally sure. I do have to trim the ends, though, because this is definitely going to be too long. Okay, enough stalling. Over to time-lapse. Here we go. Good luck. Phew. Well, that took a while. Easy project, but time consuming. That's a lot of hemming. You can tell I kept the scarf pretty long. It's pretty oversized, but it's very cozy. And I think this and the skirt are going to be pretty much what I want to wear here in the grouchier months of winter. I am loving this fabric. I'm loving that it's cozy, but it also has that kind of darker, kind of deep gray vibe, as well as the bright colors. I think it'll be a nice balance. So I'm looking forward to wearing these guys. I think they'll be a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the project as well. Are you inspired? Do you want to try some flannel? Are you busting flannel out of your wardrobe? Do you wear flannel all the time? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. And I will definitely show you what this looks like when I put it all together as an outfit. While I'm doing that, it's a great time for you guys to give this video a thumbs up if you get behind making your own cozy flannel wear, or just making your own cozy in general, especially this time of year. I feel like we all need it. Definitely consider subscribing. We've got lots more fun stuff coming in this new year. I'm getting way over inspired for upcoming projects. So stay tuned for that. I'll get ready and I'll show you what these guys look like when I'm done.